Okay, welcome to the Magic Tree House, Leprechaun in Late Winter. And today we are on Chapter 8, The Hollow Hill. So, as usual, you can follow along with me if you have this book and you can read it as I read it. Or if you don't have the book, that's okay too. You can just use your listening ears. But either way, you should, as the story goes on, you should be visualizing what the story is saying using the author's words, right, to create pictures in your head and images, and so that you kind of have a movie playing right along, right? You think about the characters and the events that are going on. What are they doing? Make connections to the story. You can make connections to your own life. You may connect with the characters' feelings, like, ooh, yes, I would, feel like that if this was happening. Or, oh, I disagree with what the character's doing. Or I've been in a situation like that before. And so you can make it to your own life, you can make it to other stories, and you can make it to things that you've, seen in the world. And then you can also make predictions. Good readers are always making predictions about what they think are going to happen, right, based on what they're reading so far. And, have I wonders. And those things, happen a lot of times naturally. Like even when you're watching TV, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to this character. I wonder if they're going to find the lost dog. Or, oh, I wonder, if she's going to eat the soup that the witch made. And we're constantly doing those kind of things. So um, continue to do those things while you're listening to the story. So again, we're on Chapter 8, The Hollow Hill. So again, you might be saying, I wonder what the Hollow Hill is. I know in the last chapter, Willy was bringing Jack and Annie to a secret place that they could not show any other humans. So the Hollow Hill, right? Mary, I think, mentioned the Hollow Hill a couple chapters earlier. All right, so let's carry on. The leprechaun scrambled down a steep bank of the river. Jack started to follow, but Annie grabbed him. Jack, the whistle won't work for Willy, she said. I know, said Jack. We'll worry about that later. Right now, we just have to save Augusta. Come on. Jack and Annie hurried after Willy to the wide, rushing river. I wonder how Jack feels, knowing, that that's going to be a worry later. How do we get across? Jack said. Follow me along the river, said Willy, and I'll show you. Step lightly. Willy skipped ahead of them along the river bank. Jack and Annie followed. Jack tried to step lightly, but it was impossible. Slopping through the mud, his boots filled with ooze and made squishy sounds with every step. Yuck. The river grew narrower and narrower, twisting and turning like a snake. The mist grew thicker until Jack could hardly see a thing. He bumped into Willy, almost knocking him over. Careful, laddie, said the leprechaun. Sorry, said Jack. All right, said Willy. Here's where we cross. Hop from stone to stone after me. Willy disappeared into the mist, crossing the river. Annie followed him. Jack started across too. He tried to hop carefully from stone to stone, but the stones were slippery. On his third hop, his boot slid off a mossy rock, and he splashed into the freezing water. Yikes. And anyone that goes to the beach, the mossy rocks are definitely slippery. Jack, are you okay? Annie called in a loud whisper. Yeah, I'm fine, Jack said. He scrambled up. His clothes were soaked and heavy. I can connect with that. That's a yucky feeling. He really was miserable now. He wadded over to the other side of the river and joined Annie and Willy. Ah, you fell in, said Willy. That happens sometimes. Come with me now into the forest. Jack, Annie, and Willy walked under the trees. They passed old oaks and maples that creaked in the wind. Jack shivered in his soaking wet clothes. A big black crow called from a high bare branch. Willy jumped, then laughed. Ah, 'tis probably Patrick Daly, he said. Rumor is the Shee changed him into a crow for stealing a pair of the High Queen's shoes. Changed him into a crow? Said Jack. Willy nodded. One of the Shee's favorite tricks, he said, changing humans who displeased them into animals. Hmm. Oh, said Jack. A white rabbit scampered through the forest. That bunny over there is no doubt the former Mrs. Shane McCarty. She was rude to the High King, said Willy. Rude to the High King, said Jack. He was starting to feel like he was trapped in a nightmare. The Shee cannot bear the rudeness of humans, said Willy. Look there. He pointed to a fawn peeking out from behind the fir tree. Oh, it's so cute, said Annie. Cute, maybe. Maybe not, said Willy. Could easily be old John Foley. I heard he was changed for just being a grouch. Come along. Willy led Jack and Annie through the forest until they came to a tangle of briars and brambles. The hollow hill of the Shee lies just beyond this thicket, he said to them. Do you still want to go find your friend? Yes, Jack and Annie both whispered. Then off you go, and good luck to you, said Willy, tipping his hat. What? Aren't you coming with us? Said Jack. Oh, my, no, said Willy. The Shee would be furious if they knew I showed humans the path to their secret hiding place. And I certainly don't want to live the rest of my life like a weasel. But won't they be angry at us for finding their secret hiding place? Said Jack. Possibly, said Willy. Here's what I recommend you do. Politely tell the High King and High Queen that you've just come looking for your dear friend to take her back to her loving family. The Shee place very great value of friendship and family. Okay, said Jack, friendship and family. And remember, be simple, direct, and honest at all times, said Willy. Simple, direct, honest, repeated Jack. And polite. That's the most important. Very, very polite, said Willy. Very polite, said Annie. Got it. Another thing, said Willy. In the world of the Shee, the old tales still live. So do not be afraid if you see old sights floating around. They're just bits and pieces of old stories. Now go. Be simple, direct, honest, and polite, and save your dear friend before she's lost forever. Thanks, Willy, said Annie. Best of luck, said Willy. See you later, said Jack. Aye, I'll be waiting for you, said the leprechaun. Jack and Annie crouched down and stared through the thicket. Thorns and briars pulled up Jack's wet coat. They scratched his hands and got caught in his hair. Jack battled his way through the tangled brush until he caught up with Annie. They both pushed their way out of the thicket and stepped to a glade. Wow, it's like Mary said, whispered Annie. It is like summer here. No rain fell, no wind blew. Warm sunshine shone on the emerald green glade. In the middle of the glade was a large grassy mound. At the foot of the mound was a small doorway, framed by stones. That must be it, the hollow hill, said Jack. The secret home of the Shee. And that must be someone from an old story, whispered Annie, as she pointed to a woman floating above the green mound. The woman wore a wreath of flowers on her head and carried a branch with silver apples. She vanished into the sunny haze. Ooh, whispered Jack. A small sailing ship then appeared in the air. It had white sails and flags flying. The ship too vanished. Then an old woman spinning at a spinning wheel appeared. Then a wispy dragon. Then a knight with a sword. The parade of images faded into the sunshine like wisps of smoke. Whoo, said Jack. Listen, said Annie. The sound of drumming was coming from the doorway of the grassy mound. Come on, let's look inside, said Annie. Jack and Annie stuck close to the small doorway. It was no higher than Jack's waist. He and Annie knelt down and peeked inside. The hollow hill was filled with pale green light. Very small dancers, none more than 8 inches tall, were bathed in the light. As drummers pounded tiny drums and dancers danced together in rows, They held their arms straight by their sides and kicked their legs and turned around and around into the rhythm of the drums. A small shining couple sat on high golden chairs watching the dancers. They wore golden crowns. "They must be the High King and the High Queen," whispered Annie. Jack and Annie watched until the rows of dancers parted. Then they could see the third person watching the dance. She was no taller than the dancers. Draped around her shoulders was a red cape. "It's Augusta," said Annie. Ooh, they found her. So that is the end of this chapter. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if the king and the queen will be nice or if they will be upset that the humans found their mound. So we will have to find out in the next chapter. So again, thank you for listening, and I will see you again shortly. Keep reading until then.